Get out the way, Barnadette. How's it going, people? For today's video, I'm going to show you how I was able to beat expert mode in LEGO Fortnite. The first thing I should do is probably explain how to get each of these Storm King trophies. And yes, I called them Storm King. In order to get the Grasslands trophy, you have to level up a village in the Grasslands all the way to 10, and then you have to kill a Storm Wild Grasslands Brood. You'll know if it's a Storm Wild Brood if it has that purple color around it. If it doesn't have a purple color, it's just a regular Grasslands Brood. But if it looks like this one in this clip, then that means it's a Storm Wild Brood, and that's the one you have to kill after you get your Grasslands village to level 10. Once you kill that Grasslands Brood, you'll then have to come back to your village and interact with this village hub. Once you interact with it, they will then give you this trophy. Same thing with this Dry Valley trophy. In order to unlock it, you're going to have to get a Dry Valley village to level 10. And once you get it to level 10, you'll then have to kill a Storm Wild Sand Brood. And here's what the Storm Sand Brood looks like. Again, it's going to have a little purple color around it. And once you kill that Storm Sand Brood, you'll have to come back to your desert village, interact with the village hub. And as soon as you interact with it, you should get the new trophy. And same thing is true for the Frostlands Storm King trophy. You'll have to level up your Frostlands village to level 10 and then kill a Storm Wild Frost Brood. And here's what the Storm Wild Frost Brood looks like. And once you kill the Storm Wild Frost Brood, you'll have to go back to your Frostlands village and interact with the village hub. And once you do that, you should get your Frostlands trophy. The person I was playing with did receive their trophies, but he was with me when I killed the broods. And the way you craft them is you go to your inventory and then go to sculptures. And they should all be located here. So for the Grasslands trophy, we needed 8 marble slabs. For the Dry Valley trophy, we needed 8 copper bars. And to craft the Frostlands trophy, we needed 8 iron bars. And the thing I want to point out with these trophies is that not only can you craft them in your expert world, but you should be able to craft them in any world you join from that point on. I loaded into my survival world after I beat expert mode, and I was able to craft my trophies in there. So these do carry over to other worlds. The very first thing you should do when you load in is talk to Triggerfish, because he's going to give you a totem of return, and you'll want everybody in your lobby to talk to Triggerfish because he'll give them one too. So that way if you die early on, you'll be able to respawn and you won't get eliminated right away. After you talk to Triggerfish, you can then go ahead and place down your first village. It doesn't matter whether it's in the Star Wars island or on your regular island. Only thing I would recommend doing is making sure that you keep your Grasslands village near your Star Wars cave, because we're going to be farming almost all of the knotroot and marble we need from the Star Wars cave. And here's what it looks like on the map. And if you farm all of the marble and knotroot in this cave, you should be able to level up each of the 3 villages at least to like 6 or 7 really easy, because no enemies spawn in this cave, so you don't have to worry about dying or anything. And this knotroot, as well as knotroot rods, the marble and marble slabs, are all going to be used for each of the 3 villages. I was able to get all the knotroot. Oh my goodness, where did y'all come from? What are they? But yeah, I didn't need to go to any other Grasslands cave for marble or knotroot. I was able to get all the marble and knotroot I needed from the Star Wars cave. And it's important that you get a lot of knotroot and marble, because those 2 materials specifically are going to help you level up your village between, like, I want to say level 1 and level 6 or 7. And that not only applies to Grasslands villages, it also applies to the Dry Valley village, as well as the Frostlands village. So the first 6 or 7 levels for each of the 3 villages is going to be pretty easy, as long as you farm those materials in the Star Wars cave. Next thing I want to do is show the materials needed to level up your village from 1 to 10. So here's all of the materials you need in order to get your Grasslands village from 1 to 10. And this is assuming you built your Grasslands village in your regular LEGO world, not the Star Wars island. So yeah, that's all the materials you'll need. You don't really need to go in any other cave other than the Star Wars cave. But for the last couple of village ranks in the Grasslands biome, you will need some obsidian slabs, some amber, and in order to get those materials, you'll have to go to the Dry Valley. If you do decide to go to the Dry Valley, I would recommend that you bring some snowberry shakes with you, and I'll show you how to get a bunch of those a little bit later. But that's everything you'll need for the Grasslands Village. The materials required for the Grasslands Village on the Star Wars Island is a little bit different. I actually built my village on the Star Wars Island, and I'll explain which I think is better a little bit later. So here's a image showing everything you'll need to level up your Grasslands Village on the Star Wars Island. The only thing that's sort of missing is on level 8, you also have to open up 5 Imperial chests, but everything else looks good for the most part. But yeah, for level 1, you'll have to get 5 pumpkins, as well as clear out an area and build a rebel farm. You'll also need to build some beds. For level 2, you'll need to craft 3 short swords, a crafting bench, and so on and so forth. So these are all the materials and items you'll need to level up your Star Wars Grasslands Village to level 10. Here's everything you'll need to fully level up your Dry Valley Village from 1 to 10. And all of these items can be found in the Dry Valley biome, so you don't need to go to the Frostlands or anything. But yeah, those are the items you want to look out for. And it doesn't matter whether you're on the Star Wars Island or your regular Lego world. These are the materials you'll need to level up your Dry Valley Village to level 10. And here's all the materials you'll need to level up your Frostlands Village to level 10. And again, it doesn't matter whether it's on the Star Wars Island or the regular island. These are the only materials you'll need. Next thing I want to do is talk about charms. The first thing I want to point out when it comes to charms is that none of them have armor. So every hit you take in expert mode is going to deal more damage compared to the amount of damage you would take in a normal survival world. It's also going to make a couple of these charms useless, like the charm of resilience, for example. I also want to show all of the charms that I made while playing expert mode. So like I said, with this first one, Triggerfish is going to give you, all you have to do is just talk to him. After that, I went ahead and made the common health charm. And as soon as I was able to make the young common health charm, I made that. As a matter of fact, I made 2 of them. After that, the next charm I tried to make was the rare health charm. The next charm I made after that was the reflection charm. At that point, I believe we finished the Dry Valley Village, and I went ahead and made my first inner fire charm just so I could get some of the Frostland materials and unlock some recipes. I also started making the rare Totem of Return charm at this point. And before I killed the Frostlands brood, I went ahead and made an epic inner fire charm. And these are the only charms I used throughout the entire expert mode. The totems I had equipped when I was in the Frostlands are these right here: Totem of Return, Inner Fire Charm, and Reflection Charm. Last thing I want to point out with these charms, and this is a very important rule. If you follow this rule, you will beat expert. And that rule is you never leave the base without a Totem of Return charm. And the way you do that is to make sure you always have enough materials to build another Totem of Return. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can either make extra Totem of Returns, just place them in your chest, so that way when you die and return to your village, you just take the Totem of Return out and you'll still have it on you. Or you can do what I did and just keep the materials here that will allow you to craft another Totem of Return. We can actually either craft an uncommon one because we have these 2, or we can craft a rare one because we have these 2. So you always keep an extra Totem of Return at your base, or the materials needed to craft one at your base. So that way whenever you die, you have a totem that you can put on right away. And if you follow this rule, you will never die without a totem. And the way you make sure you always have extra materials is to just, farm those materials while you have the totem equipped. So just to give you an example, whenever I died, I came back to my village, I grabbed these 2 right here, 8 sand claws, 3 sand shells. I think I also needed some wool thread if I'm not mistaken. I would also grab 50 storm core. And once I grabbed all those things, we'd go to the crafting table and make another Totem of Return. And as soon as I made it, I would equip it. And as soon as I equip it, I would go farm those same materials I just used to craft this charm. I would go farm those same materials, so that way I can craft another one just in case I go down again. So again, just try to make it to where you never have to leave your base without a Totem of Return. And if you do that, you'll never get permanently eliminated. So that was my approach when it comes to charms. Oh, another huge tip I would recommend is if you need storm cores, try to go for these storm wolves. They give you 5 storm cores, and again, you'll need 50 storm cores to make the Totem of Return. So if you ever need storm cores, I think killing grassland wolves are going to be the best way to farm it. When it comes to farm animals, the ones I would recommend are the cow, the chicken, and the sheep. You don't really need the pig because you don't need mushrooms, and you don't really need the ram either because you can get through majority of expert mode without those farm animals. But the ones I would definitely recommend are the chicken and the cow. Whenever you feed the chicken vines, they'll give you feathers, and we're going to use these feathers to make arrows later. And whenever you feed the cow spicy peppers, they'll give you spicy burgers. And whenever you feed them snowberry seeds, they'll give you snowberry shakes. But I would take spicy peppers, take them to the grain mill, turn them into pepper seeds. Then once you get the pepper seeds, you want to feed those to your cow. So that's how you get the spicy burgers. And same thing with the snowberry shakes. You just want to collect some snowberries, take them to your grain mill, make some snowberry seeds, and then you'll have to feed those snowberry seeds to your cow in order to get snowberry shakes. Now, they did make some changes to cows with this most recent update. It used to be 1 snowberry for every snowberry shake, but now you need multiple snowberries. Okay, so it takes 6 pepper seeds, and I believe it also takes 6 snowberry seeds to make a spicy burger and a snowberry shake after this week's update. It used to be 1-to-1, but now it's 6-to-1. So the cows did sort of get nerfed with this update. That's not the only way you can get snowberry shakes and spicy burgers. You can also get snowberry shakes from the juicer, and you can also get spicy burgers from the grill. In order to get milk, you just need to feed vines to your cow. And you may also need some wool, in which case you can just farm some vines from your corn and then plant those vines in here, and just in case you ever need wool. Same thing with the farm. You just really need snowberries, spicy peppers, and something that drops vines, whether it be corn, wheat, or pumpkins. When it comes to weapons, the absolute best weapon you can use is the bow. It doesn't matter what the rarity is, just try to craft whatever rarity you have unlocked. This is going to help you keep your distance, which is going to help you stay alive. But yeah, I would say the most important weapon you'll need in expert mode is the crossbow. You can also use shields when it comes to roly-polies because they can one-shot you in expert mode. I didn't really craft any swords because, well, we got lightsabers from our grassland bunkers. And sometimes I would also use some of the weapons that the stormtroopers drop if they had like full durability. Sometimes I would use those. But for the most part, I pretty much just stuck with my lightsaber and my crossbow. When you go kill brutes, I would recommend that you put Essence of Damage on your crossbow, especially for the Frostlands brute. And you see I put 3 damages on mine, and we were able to kill him pretty quickly. I think I did 46 damage every time I crit. So when you fight the Frostlands brute, you may want to put 3 damage perks on it. But for the other 2 brutes, I didn't really have any damage perks. I just used a regular rare crossbow, and I was still able to kill them. And again, since the crossbow is the weapon we use the most, you're going to need a lot of feathers because you're going to have to craft a lot of arrows. Usually when I went out to go kill a brute or go explore a cave or bunker, I would take about 150 to 200 arrows with me. When it comes to equipment, we pretty much used almost every equipment except for the oven. I didn't really craft any food at the oven. I guess another one I didn't use was this Rebel workbench, but I did use everything else. Now, another thing I noticed is that expert mode is a lot easier if you have a lot of people with you. Fortunately, I got a couple things you can do to help you find some people to play with. Feel free to use the comments below. All you have to do is just tell people your Epic ID, what server you play on. You can add each other in the comments below, or you can use our Discord, which I'll leave a link to in the description. And again, the main reason I'm telling you this is because not only is it a lot easier when you're playing with a lot of people, but it's also a lot more fun to play with other people. Speaking of which, we had about 5 or 6 people when we first started this expert world, and when we finished, we only had 1 person left. So before we go any further,
I just wanted to personally say thank you for your devotion and your sacrifice.
You will not be forgotten. Honestly, it's really sad when somebody in your world gets permanently eliminated. It's funny, but it's also sad, right? But yeah, we started with about 5 or 6 people, and we ended up with just 1 person. So yeah, if you're looking to do this expert mode with people, you can either use the comments below, or you can try our Discord. It is possible to do it solo, but I feel like it's a lot more fun if you do it with other people. It took me about 2 days, probably about 15 to 20 hours total to level up all 3 villages. If you're playing solo, I would assume it may take you a little bit longer. If you're playing in a full group, you may be able to complete that a little bit faster. But for me, it took about 15 to 20 hours. I think I died around 6 or 7 times total. But again, every time I died, I had a totem of return. So yeah, if you follow that rule of always having a totem of return on you and always having the materials to craft another totem of return, you should be able to make it through your expert mode. That's like the best tip I can give you, is never leave the base without a totem. I would also recommend that you turn on your visual audio indicator. As you can see, that still works in expert mode, and that's going to help you find enemies you can't really see but that are still near you. It's also going to help you find the storm wild brutes when you go looking for them. It'll sort of give you a heads up if there's any enemies nearby. And the way you turn it on is by going to your setting, then going over to audio, and then scroll down till you see visualize sound effects and turn that on. Another thing I would recommend doing is building a lot of grills to level up your village. This is like the best thing to build to level up your village quickly. And you see, the only thing I built here in my Frostlands village was 22 grills, a couple of crates for storage, and 2 beds for my 2 villagers. And that's all I needed to level up my Frostlands village to 10, were these 22 grills. And the reason I say build these is because they level up your village better than even some big buildings, and they don't really require a whole lot to make. Just need a bunch of granite. So I would recommend doing this for your Frostlands village, your Dry Valley village, maybe even your Grasslands village, if you don't really care what it looks like. So that's another thing I would recommend doing if you want to level up your village rating quickly. And the last tip I want to go over is whether or not you should build your villages on the Star Wars island or the regular map. On this playthrough, I decided to build my villages on the Star Wars island just to try them out, and it definitely has some advantages as well as some disadvantages. So I think one of the benefits for making your Grasslands village on the Star Wars island is that I didn't need to go in any Dry Valley caves or Dry Valley bunkers to get materials to level up my village. I did have to run around the Star Wars island, but I didn't really have to go inside of any bunkers or caves to level it up. If you make your Grasslands village on the regular island, you will eventually have to go down into a Dry Valley bunker to get those obsidian and to get the rough amber. But if you build it in Star Wars, you don't really need to go in any bunkers for your Grasslands village. Now, I did have to go back to the regular world to farm rough sapphire. The Frostlands bunker on the Star Wars island is really hard. They have the black stormtrooper down there. You have to like kill all the enemies before you can progress further in the cave. I noticed that with some caves on the regular island, sometimes there's not even enemies in there. It'll be just like a completely empty cave. So when it comes to farming things like sapphire, iron, maybe even like bright core and obsidian, when it comes to farming these type of items, you may want to go to the regular world instead of Star Wars island. I actually had to go back to my regular world to get those items. That's sort of a disadvantage for the Star Wars island. And the Dry Valley and Frostland villages were pretty easy too, but when it comes to farming the materials needed for those, that's going to be easier to do on the regular Lego world, in my opinion. One big advantage of the Star Wars island though is it was really easy to find the storm wild brutes in the Star Wars island. So if you're struggling to find them in your regular Lego world, you may want to go to your Star Wars island. You should be able to find them there. All of the storm brutes that I found were like near my rebel village. Directly below my rebel village is the Dry Valley biome. I was able to get the Dry Valley storm brute from there. I was able to get the Grasslands brute near my rebel village, and I was able to get the Frostlands storm brute near my Frostlands village. So they are definitely easier to find on the Star Wars island compared to the regular island. Another sort of advantage the regular world has over the Star Wars island is that you can't change the jobs with these Star Wars villagers, which kind of makes them, I don't want to say useless, but when you can't assign them to a specific job, you're sort of going to lose out on those resources, whether it be food or materials. So the villagers on the regular Lego world are going to be better than these Star Wars villagers. And yeah, those are sort of my first impressions when it comes to Star Wars Island versus your regular Lego world. So whether or not you want to build it on the Star Wars Island or your regular Lego world, that's sort of up to you. But you may want to keep those things in mind when you decide. And that pretty much sums up all the tips I have when it comes to this new expert mode. Definitely a lot of fun, and it's also the most challenging thing I've done in LEGO Fortnite up to this point. And I also really like these Storm King trophies. Now for those who are wondering why I keep calling them Storm King trophies, like I said earlier, you have to kill a brute and then go to your village hub in order to unlock these trophies. But here's what a brute looks like. Now for those who haven't played Save the World, here's what the Storm King looks like. And the Storm King's like the mythic final boss in Save the World. Now if we compare these trophies to both the brutes and the Storm King, obviously this looks more like the Storm King. So that's one reason I call this the Storm King trophy. Another reason is because, well, in expert mode, you get storm wild enemies. Keyword being storm. So we got storm brutes, you know, storm wolves, storm spiders. And again, once you beat expert mode, you get these trophies that look like the Storm King. So that's why I call these the Storm King trophies. They look like the Storm King, and you get them after you beat expert mode and defeat all the storm wild enemies. But yeah, for those who don't play Save the World, I'll leave some Storm King gameplay in the description if you want to see what he looks like. But yeah, that's why I call them the Storm King trophies. And honestly, they look really cool. I can't wait to build these in my survival world. But yeah, that sums up everything I'm going to go over for this one. Again, huge shout out to everybody who helped in this expert world. And I also want to give a big shout out to everybody who left a like on this video and everybody who uses creator code A1. Anyways, I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.